After you have your initial drawings down on paper, and you've noted all the scales of permanence, as we call them in permaculture, which are: where is your microclimate? What are your zones? Where are your paths of access? What are the structures, existing structures? What are the existing plants in your backyard drawing? Then you probably want to go ahead and plan your planting for the year or for the season. And the way I like to do this is I start to think of areas in my backyard as guilds, as little collections of plants that grow well together. Companion planting has a lot to do with it, but it's not the only aspect. It's more, the word guild really says much more than companion planting, because it's a collection of plants that work in concert to support a tree or a main production crop. At least that's how I look at it. And some people may look at it differently, but I like to think of it as having one sort of main star in your guild, and that's what I named the guild after. So for instance, I have here a pawpaw guild. If you were to make a pawpaw guild, which is what I was attempting to do here, I have a pawpaw tree which I've labeled number 1. So now I list down the existing vegetation that I have in my yard and number it. You can label it however you want. You can put smiley faces or any icons you'd like, but I just am really boring this way, and I just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now I have a list of like 54 plants currently, and I'm sure I have more species than 54, but that's the ones not going into varieties, just like peas, and peas is number 12 in my case, I think. But here, let's go into the pawpaw guild. So for my pawpaw guild, number 1 means pawpaw. I would like to have different things work in concert. So in order to support my pawpaw, I would like to have a nitrogen fixer. And that right now is actually a gummy berry, which is number 2. And a nitrogen fixer is a plant that will deliver available nitrogen to the soil, will convert the nitrogen from the air or from the soil into a nitrogen element that the roots can uptake. And the gummy berry actually does that very well. And not only does it deliver nitrogen, it also yields gummy berries that we love to eat. Now the pawpaw has been doing very well. It's in our backyard, which is shady. It's called an understory tree. We don't have overstory in this particular setup because that would just make it even shadier. But this pawpaw tree likes the shade and produces fruit in the shade. And it's supported by the gummy berry. It's also supported by a pollinator, which is number 4, which is the anise hyssop, and that helps pollinate the pawpaw. Pawpaws are pollinated by flies and the zebra swallowtail butterfly, both of which love anise hyssop. Number 3 is an herb called marshmallow. We're not quite sure how it supports the pawpaw. It just happened to grow there and really likes it there, so I've put it in as existing vegetation. But it's very medicinal, it's helpful. So it supports us, not necessarily the pawpaw, but it's part of my guild because it just found a home in there and just refuses to go away. And it's fine, it doesn't spread. We also always have something to mulch with, which is a dynamic accumulator. So DA, I put in their functions. DA stands for dynamic accumulator, and for me, that is comfrey. I did not put DA here, but C stands for comfrey, and there's a comfrey there. So there are different functions in this pawpaw guild, and it's lacking a few more items because the soil around here is always bare, and that's not a good sign. And I know I want to have the perfect ground cover for it, and I'm still experimenting to see what it is. I have a feeling it's going to be mint, because if I make it strawberry, as is present in the rest of my yard, I plan to have potatoes here, and then I have to think companion planting. Potatoes don't go well with strawberry. So potatoes are one of those. There are only a few vegetable plants that don't go well with others. Maybe I'd say maximum 20. Maybe off the top of your head, you probably need to learn 10 of them. And they are found in this book, The Suburban Microfarm by Amy Strauss. So this is a plug for her book. This is a good copy to have whenever you're doing your designs. And I will, I am a friend of hers, but I don't get any affiliate deals. All the proceeds go to her, which is awesome, because she is a great resource for us, and she would be a great resource for you as well. So check out her site at 10th Acre Farm. So that's how I think in terms of guilds. So if you wanted to learn how to do a set up guild that I've already done, I've taken this bed here by our fence and I've called it an elderberry guild. So in this case, the main star, the elderberry, is not a tree, but is a bush. And that's okay for small spaces. I have different functions that complete this guild. H stands for herbaceous layer, which is lettuces. R stands for root layer, which can be radishes or carrots. And we'll see how these do here this year, because this is a relatively shady area. Even though it says sunniest, it's shady compared to the front. GC stands for ground cover, and in this case it's strawberry. 21, not 12. 21 is my number for strawberry. P is pollinator, and in this case it's going to be over here. There it is, 33, 33, 33. And I have sunflowers to pollinate this guild. DA, dynamic accumulator. And what is a dynamic accumulator? That basically means it mines the soil for nutrients and brings them up, so that when you mulch the leaves of a comfrey plant, all the nutrients that are in the leaves go back to the soil and feed the elderberry bush or the trees around it. So DA is comfrey 41, and that's what I've put here. There's a comfrey here, and I want to put another, there is a comfrey already there. NF is nitrogen fixer, and in this case 22, it's golden bacao beans that are going to grow up the fence around the elderberry, giving it nitrogen and giving the rest of the plants, like lettuces, radishes, and carrots, all the plants that need nitrogen, it will give nitrogen to. Y, beans and peas. So legumes are nitrogen fixers. They are the only plants, not the only plants, but majority of legumes have a team up, a symbiotic relationship with nitrogen fixing bacteria called rhizobium or frankia, and they deliver starch to the bacteria, and in return the bacteria give nitrogen to the plant. So it's a really good relationship, and you don't get this in just legumes, such as the gummy berry is not a legume, it's a berry bush, but it is a nitrogen fixing bush. It's also called an autumn olive, I believe. Finally, E is, I put S, maybe that's what I meant by star. I'm not quite sure what S is, but probably it meant star. Star of the show is elderberry bush, and H or I is herbaceous layer or insectary, because the chamomile is an herb. It is in that herbaceous size layer. So in terms of size, it's the herbaceous layer, or in terms of physical space that it's occupying, it is the herbaceous layer. And 38 is chamomile, which is not listed on here, but I will have to add that in, pencil that in. So I'm hoping that chamomile, they say wherever it's planted, it does good to that soil. So, and it does good to us, right? So you have so many multiple functions in one element in chamomile. And that's it for how to set up your guilds. This is a very quick overview on how to do it. It's just an example. Basically, you will learn how to do it by doing it yourself. So there should be an existing document to go with this video, check that out and design your guilds.